Today we're gonna be doing an oil change on this Toyota RAV4 and see why it's needed to running rough.
Okay, so console number 18 shows up on the screen, but there is definitely something wrong with the disk drive on this one, so we'll take a look at that in a minute. We got two more to go, let's get it on. Number 19 is an Xbox Series X that has been taken apart before. Let's plug it in and see what it does. I don't see any problems like initially on the outside, so I'm not sure why they took it apart, but we'll figure it out. Okay, disk drive has power. Console shows up on the screen. Let's try this. Okay, pulls it in. Spins up. Everything sounds good with that. And it's ready to be set up. So another one that obviously I've seen no problems with. And our last console is this PlayStation 5 Disc Edition that I don't see any problems with. On the outside, it is missing the plates. So we'll turn on and we'll play this. Find out. Disk drive has power. Console has power. Then we take a disc. Yep. Take the disc. It just spins up. And it is starting up in the background. So no problems found on console number 20. We've got them all tested. Let's start the repairs. Let's start the repairs with number 18. It's got a problem with the disk drive. This is the one where I've taken it apart before. Let's see what's going on with it on the inside. See if we can fix it. Yeah, we've got a couple screws in it still. Fan screws are here. The disk drive's not working, but it is plugged in. So I'm not sure what's going on with it. Okay, and not sure if this ribbon cable's plugged in all the way. No, actually, I think it's probably okay. Let's get this disk drive taken apart then. There must be something going on the inside of that. Everything looks normal and fine so far. No problems here, which I would expect. I think we probably have a problem with the laser on this. I don't see anything broken here or any sort of problem so far. So I believe we just have a problem with the laser. Let's get that replaced, and then we'll get this thing back together and see if that fixes it. Now, I could just replace the laser on this if I wanted to. There's a little retaining tab right here you have to remove. You can pull this bar out and replace the laser. But you can also replace this whole assembly, and that's what I'm going to do here. This goes under here, just like that. Cable right into this connector right here. Good there. Now we're going to need to put the screws back in. Okay, we're all good there. These rollers look good, but since we're already in here, might as well give them a cleaning. When these get dirty, they don't pull the disc in as well, so have the thing all the way apart here. You might as well just clean those. Now just these 4 screws to hold the plate on, and we're ready to put this thing back together. Alright, and with all the screws put in this disk drive, we can get it reinstalled into the PS5. Now I did put most of the screws back here, but I am missing a couple of these silver screws, so I mean it's not like it really matters. We don't need those 42 screws around this entire thing, so it's not going to hurt anything as far as the functioning of the console. It's just kind of weird that they're not there, but oh well. Alright, with that in, we can get the mid-frame installed back in, and then we can hook up the wires, put the fan in, the rest of the screws, and then we can try it out. Okay, good so far. Put a disc in. Alright, it's taking it in, and it is spinning up just fine. We'll have to get this set up and do a little more testing, but this disk drive seems to be fully fixed. We've fixed the first PlayStation 5. Let's move on to the next console. Next, let's check out PlayStation 5 number 4 that has no power. So I'm just going to tear this down right to the power supply. I think that's most likely the issue. So I've got a tester that we'll test it with, and then if for some reason that's not the issue, we'll do some diagnosing and see if we can figure it out. Now with all of those totally necessary screws out, we can pull this metal plate off. There we go. And don't really see any problems so far. What I'm going to do though is plug this in to a power supply and then see if we get voltage down on these 2 pins down here. Power supply plugged in. Let's see what we have. Oh, we get 12 volts. So that tells me that the power supply is most likely working just fine. Okay, so now we got to do some testing and figure out why we have power to the board, but it won't turn on or do anything. There's no power to anything else. The fan, the disk drive, the power button, just no power to anything. I think the first thing I'm going to do is take the board all the way out and just inspect the whole thing, see if we see anything obvious, and if not, then we'll get down to doing more testing. So first things first, let's go ahead and check the fuses on this thing. There's, I believe, only one fuse on the top side of this board. That fuse is good. Now, while we're also on the top side, let's plug it in and check some voltages. I'm going to first check and see if we get voltage down on the power button. It would help if I put it on voltage reading mode and not ohms. 3.3, 2.9, I think that's probably good enough. And the button does pull it down to 0 volts. Let's check this button. Yep. So I think that's good. 2.9 is not 3.3, but I think it's probably close enough. Let's come up and check the voltage around F002. So let's see, first of all, if we have 5 volts in. We do have 5 volts.
Well, guys, thank you for watching. We're just doing an oil change today.
We do get 1.8.
Nothing too drastic, guys.
3 right
Because
here.
we're not feeling 100%.
Yeah, 3.2. That's close enough. Okay, so definitely no worries there. Let's check for shorts around here and see if the HDMI chip is shorted. Just test to make sure our meter's working. And it is. All right, let's see what we get. Everything's fine there. Fine there. That's all fine. One leg of these chips should be grounded. Okay, no issues there. All right, no issues there. I'm just going to do some random checking for shorts around some of these other components. So these are showing shorted when I have it in the beep mode. I'm not sure if these are supposed to have 46 ohms. I feel like these are probably not actually shorted. Yeah, because we got 1 ohm on this side, 46, 47 ohms on this side. I think that's probably fine. They're probably just low impedance. Same with this one. I don't have a board to check this against, but I think that's fine. Similar to like all of these APU capacitors also have very low impedance, although even lower. So 1.3 on one side and 0.9 on the other. So if we put it over in resistance mode where it will beep, all of these will seem like they're shorted, even though they're not actually shorted. There's just very little impedance on these capacitors. Now we do have 12 volts coming from our power supply, which we know. So we have 12 volts here. Let's see if we get 12 volts on this line. Yeah, we do. So we have 12 volts here that's ready to go into the APU once the console turns on. So that should be good. All right, let's get this board flipped over and check the other fuses. All right, so let's check these fuses over here. Good. Good. 3501. Good. 3502. Also good. 7502. Good. 7003. Good. 5402. Good. 5401. Good. 7001 is good as well. Okay, so all the fuses look good. No shorts that I found anywhere so far. Now, one of the things I did notice, though, it's kind of hard to see, but if you notice right here, this component is totally blown. So is this one. Actually, probably all of these are all capacitors, and that tells me that there was likely a lightning strike through the Ethernet port. So that's the other thing we're battling, is it's probably a lightning strike, which also means it's, I don't know, probably somewhat likely that there's a problem on the south bridge. We've got a few more things to check, but so far this is not looking great for a fix for me today. So to recap, all the fuses are good. There's no shorts, at least that I've found. The power supply is putting out 12 volts. There's voltage on the board, and the places it should be our half check standby voltages. We've got the 5 volts, we got the 3.3, we've got the 1.8. All the voltages are there that should be there, and it still just does nothing. So I think this is probably a BIOS issue, maybe Southbridge issue. For now, though, I'm going to call this not fixable for me. Let's move on to the next console. Let's see if we can fix this Xbox Series X next. This is the one that had the error E200. So I'm going to get it plugged in and see if that error comes up, and then see if we can fix it. So the first thing I'm going to try, assuming this comes up with the same errors, I'm going to try installing OSU 1. That should fix this, but if there's a problem on the inside or a problem with the SSD, then that might not fix it. So hopefully it's not a problem with the SSD, because that's generally not something that can be fixed. Okay, let's actually go and troubleshoot real quick. Let's try and reset it. We're going to remove everything and see if that fixes it. Okay, back to preparing console after the reset. It is definitely taking longer to start up. Maybe that's good news, I don't know. And we were just stuck at 61%. It says don't turn off or unplug your console, but I'm gonna turn it off and start over. Hey, we got a beep. That's good news. See if it beeps when I turn it back on. Does beep. Making progress. The disk drive beeps even. All right, well, let's see what happens. We're at 50%. Oh, 62. Oh, 63. Hey, it's still going. Okay. Hopefully it'll actually do something this time. 64. Okay, I'm going to try and get this set up and see what happens. But so far looks good. So we're just finishing the update. We're at 94%. Let's check a disk and see if it plays a disk. Fix it in. Spins up. Okay, that all sounds normal. I thought I was going to have to install OSU 1, which is the software for the Xbox, but it looks like simply just doing a full reset of the console might have fixed this one. So if that's all it was, this one was a super easy fix. There we go. Just got to finish setting it up. This one is all fixed, so let's move on to the next console. Next we have PS5, number 12, blue light, then turns off. Let's plug it back in just so we get a fresh look at this, so I know exactly what's going on, and then we'll get it taken apart and see if we can diagnose this thing. Okay, here we go. Power button, blue light, and right back off. So that's like a 2-second blue light, and then it powers off. So let's get this thing taken apart and start inspecting the motherboard. All right, and plastic mid-frame is off. Let's get the disk drive out. Everything looks really nice in this thing, like nice and clean. Just don't see anything that looks like it's causing a problem, at least yet. All right, and the metal plate is all loose. And I see 0 problems so far. All right, let's have a look at the other side. And the APU actually looks pretty good. Not really any dry spots there. And I see nothing obvious going on. So let's get started by checking the fuses. 7502, good. 7003, good. 3501, good. 7501, also good. And is that all? I think that's all on this side. Oh, 7002. There we go. We checked this one already. 3502. Good. Let's go to the other side. 7001 right here. Good. 5402. Good. 5401. Good. And is that all the fuses? I think that's all the fuses. So I'm going to start looking for shorts. So I've checked fuses, no blown fuses. I've checked for shorts, no shorts that I can find. I've checked voltages. All the voltages that I've checked look good. So this seems to be another board where maybe BIOS, maybe Southbridge, or it could be just another chip that I just haven't found. But unfortunately for me, this one, at least right now, is going to be unfixable. Also, I do want to say on these PlayStation 5s, there is a way to check the error codes for the motherboards on these. I don't have those tools yet, and I haven't tried it yet. At some point I will, but I just haven't done it yet. That would definitely help us narrow these down. Next, we'll have a look at this Xbox Series X. Turns on and then turns right back off. Or turns off soon anyway. Okay, starting up. Try to turn off sooner than that. no noises on any buttons. Is it just staying on now? Okay, I'm gonna hook up the HDMI and see if it, oh, fan turn on? No, fan's still on. Okay, let's hook up the HDMI. Okay, HDMI, plugging in, still on. And now we have, what? This, you guys saw this. This was number 8. It turns on and then it turns back off. And now it's just staying on. Let's try and update it and see if that's the issue. It could just be an update issue. And actually, I think what I'll do is try and just factory reset it, because there is someone's account on here right now. So system, console info, reset. Okay, let's see what happens. I thought for sure this was going to be a difficult fix, and maybe it still will be, but I just can't believe that it's turned on and stayed on. So here we are, still updating. So far, it has stayed on. Previously, when I was first testing this, it would stay on for like 30 seconds and then turn off. So this is really good. We're at 94%. Let's see what happens once it's fully updated. Okay, everything looking good. Okay, so here we are all set up. We do need to test the disk drive. Let's give that a try. Takes it in. Spins up good so far. And there we go. So this Xbox is working fine. I'm not totally sure what we did to fix it. I think just resetting it and updating it is what fixed this one as well. Let's move on to the next console. And console number 9 has a disk drive issue. I don't remember what it was doing, so let's find out. And this one is just one, it's not reading the disk, so probably another laser issue, but let's get it apart and check it out. And with the mid frame off, we get our first look at the disk drive. Ribbon cable looks good. Yeah, that side's good. And that side's good. All right. I don't think the disk drive has been opened, but we're going to do that now and see what it looks like on the inside. Just looking here, I don't see any issues initially. So let's get this plate off, have a look at the laser. And nothing too crazy going on inside here. All looks how it should. So next we need to remove this whole assembly. Yep, no obvious problems. So we're going to replace either just this laser or this whole assembly. And we'll place the new one down in here, just like that. Okay, we need to make sure that pin goes through this little groove right here, just like that. Okay, that all looks good. Now we can get it back installed on the metal plate and then back in the console. Make sure the ribbon cable, then this mid-frame, then the fan. Now with all that stuff on, we can install the covers. 1, 2, now let's plug it in and see if it works. So it starts up, shows up on the screen. Let's see if it plays a disc, or if it just spins up at least. Oh, there it goes. The disc is spinning up just fine. So we fixed another game console and a PS5. The last two haven't been great, but this one is working great. Let's move on to the next console, which is going to be this Xbox Series S. And this one has no power, so let's just get right into it. We don't need to test this again. I'm not sure what we're going to find in here, but given that there's a whole bunch of openings in the top, I feel like we might be getting into some liquid damage here. Hopefully not, but it wouldn't surprise me. Seen a lot of liquid damage on these things. All right, let's open it up and see what it looks like. Okay, fine so far. Oh, wow. Never mind. Look at that. You know, everybody's got to know when to say, nope, I ain't touching that. And this is definitely that time. Let's move on to the next console. So next, I believe this is console number 1. I had Restorus Rob take apart for me, and I'm going to replace this HDMI port. I'm going to get my hot air soldering station started up, and I'm going to heat this from the bottom right down here until this port just falls out. And then while it's still warm, I will install the new port and then just let the solder solidify. And then we'll check it and make sure it's all soldered on correctly. Before we do that, I am going to tin these pads. So I'm going to put a little bit of flux on these, and then just go through my soldering iron and just put a little bit of solder on each of those pins. I do also want to say, if this is something that you want to learn how to do, it looks fun to you, I do actually have a soldering course at GameConsoleRepairSchool.com. And the first course, I have a number of courses there. I have 3 total courses, but the first course for beginners is totally free. So if you've always wanted to do this, but don't know how and haven't, don't have a place to learn or a way to learn, you can learn for free online. From me, I have my hot air station set at 1100 degrees Fahrenheit and an airflow of 3. These take a ton of heat, so I use a ton of heat to remove them. These boards are really thick, so it just takes a lot to get these ports off safely. And if you don't get enough heat on them, then you're going to end up tearing pads, and then you're going to need to take my other soldering courses to learn how to micro solder. So it's important to get plenty of heat on these things. And I'm going in a circular motion because there is solder along the front, along the back, and the sides that needs to all melt and all be liquid at the same time. Solder is melting on the front a little bit, but not on the back yet. Oh, there we go. It's getting there. There we go. It's getting loose now. Just gonna wiggle it a little bit. Not too much. Okay, now that port's out. Now we just need to install the new port. Solder is nice and melty, so we're almost ready to put it back up in there. Okay, let's give it a try. Come on. There we go. Better? Now, I want to make sure that the back gets soldered on all the way. So I'm going to put some pressure on it with my tweezers and heat it all up again. This will help the back solder on all the way. And there we go. Now I'm going to come through and just re-solder all these things. And use my large iron. Hopefully just touch all of them and solder them really well. Soldered on solidly. That looks great. Now I'm going to give this back to restore its route so we can put it back together and move on to the PlayStation 5 HD. So here we have the PlayStation 5 motherboard, and it's essentially going to do the same thing. I'm going to do it from the bottom right here. Now I'll start to pull that out. We'll come through and just install this new port. The PS5 board isn't quite as thick and takes less heat, so this is actually an easier job than on the Xbox. Get my hot air station started up, my steam extractor turned on. Let's get this thing moving. Okay, solder is, oh, there we go. I just put down on that one mounting pin and it just fell right out. So now I'm going to keep this nice and warm. Actually, you know what? Looking at this port, it is not in good condition, and I want to make sure none of these things are broken off on the other side of the board, which is a pain. Because now we're going to lose all that heat, but we got to inspect it and make sure it's okay on the other side. And it is not. I'm glad we did that. Let's get under a microscope and I'll show you what I mean. So here we go. You can see what I'm talking about. We got some legs that are broken off here. We even have one of the mounting pins broken off. So I'm glad that I took a look at this before I just started soldering that new port on. Because we need to remove all of that, including this leg. So I'm going to do that with my large soldering iron, and I'll just come in and heat them up until those legs come off and they'll stick to my iron. And I think we're missing this component right here. We'll have to take that off of another board. Now for this leg, let's see if we can heat this up enough to push that leg through. These take a ton of heat, and even my large soldering iron might not be enough. It is not wanting to go. Okay, we'll have to heat that up with hot air. There we go. Okay, it should be through the other side now. So now I will grab it with my tweezers while I heat, and there we go. Got it. Next, we're going to take this little guy off of this board here. There we go. So what I'm going to do is use my small soldering iron, come in here and manually solder it on. Okay, I got that side and that side. Now with that little capacitor installed, we can actually get to